the Everything and Anything in a Big Gay podcast. I'm so excited to have somebody that I grew up with in college that was a huge performer and a huge celebrity on South Beach. So welcome, Tommy, aka Shelley Novak.
Welcome. Thank you, Zach, for having me. It is so nice to be on a podcast. It's nice when you get to my age to feel, I almost said reverent, like I'm Leo DiCaprio inside of a bear. Relevant. Let's say relevant. This is so cool.
Well, you made a lot of people happy throughout your career and your life. So I think that you deserve a podcast or even more, which we're going to talk about later in the podcast.
Definitely. I think that it was a crazy time, 1992. I was just breaking up with someone and I was living in Boston. And because we were together for so long, it was like Tommy and Mark and Tommy. So my best friend, since I was like 13 years old, he's a little bit older than me, Desi, Robert Desiderio, he's a stylist. We all grew up in Everett, Massachusetts together. And he had moved down in 92 down to South Beach. So he says to me, listen, if you got to reinvent yourself completely like this, new house, everything, come down to Miami Beach. And I have to ask you before I tell the story, are we okay to swear? Can we swear?
Yeah, say whatever you want.
Okay. Also, everyone, I warn you now, the names are going to be dropped. There's going to be an avalanche of celebrity name dropping. Get ready for it so that you
good. We want that.
It's warning now. Anyways, Desi says to me, listen, if you got to reinvent yourself, come down to Miami Beach. He grabbed our little clique from Everett, Massachusetts at the time, including Ellen Pompeo of Grey's Anatomy. She was just another girl who wanted to be a model. She looked exactly like Kate Moss. She styled herself to look like Kate Moss. So she came down, I came down. We all lived in the same building. And we just started going to clubs. And a box of my stuff got mailed down. And in the stuff was a seafoam green sequin dress that I had worn on Halloween with matching seafoam green heels.
And
a short little wig that my friends were like, oh, you look like Shelley Winters. You look like Shelley Winters. One day there was a tea dance and we all went down, Ellen, Desi, my friend Robert Bass, who became Shelley Novak, another drag queen from back in that day. And we put on the drag as a goof and we went down to Ocean Drive to the
Amnesia?
No, to the Winter Haven Hotel.
Winter Haven,
How long ago? And Jody McDonald, God rest his soul, DJ Mark Leventhal, and pop artist Kenny Schaff, they had taken over the Winter Haven Hotel and they were doing tea dances. Now, Chanel Lowe and I, we were not hired to be there. We just showed up in drag and I'm stoned and I'm up on the speaker dancing in the seafoam green dress. And I'm like, this is after leaving Boston. It's like when Dorothy opened the door and went from sepia tone to Oz. That's what Miami Beach was to like a Bostonian like me, just who's used to red brick. Everybody looked like a stripper. The EMTs, policemen, nursery school teachers, everyone looked like a stripper.
And you had the hot Latin boys also that were part of
Exactly. If you see me dating, I know right now the trend has come back with the look-alike boyfriend thing. If you see me dating someone who looks like me, it's a hostage situation. But I'm on the speaker and I'm dancing and I'm eating pizza and having a good time and I'm just eating pizza and just smoking pot, eating pizza. And afterwards, Mark Leventhal comes up to me and says, hey, listen, will you come back next Sunday and do that again? We'll give you $100. Now, back then, it was like $100 to go wait tables all day and kill myself at the Muffin Man, which don't get me wrong, waiting tables at the Muffin Man back then was the best because it was full of models. There was a photography studio across the street. So back then, they'd have to get slides and they'd have to look at the slide to pick which slide. This was long before digital. So Mark says, come back. And so I'm like, and that's how Shelley Novak was born. Because I was like, I can make $100 dancing on a speaker dressed as a woman eating pizza. I was like, this is it. So started doing that. And I've always been like a hustler. And when you're a drag queen back then, I didn't have an agent. I wished I had, but you act as your own agent. Your own everything. You do it all yourself.
And you're probably paid in cash at the end of the night. It was that. Off the yeah.
And like I said, you don't have to pay me to stay, but you're going to have to pay me to leave. But cash was king back then. And it was just, I was like, I could go wait tables, which I could always go do. It's a great skill to have. There's no looking down on it. I'm lazy as hell. And also coming down to Miami Beach as a little short, and I beat myself up over this like good old pictures. I'm like, you were gorgeous. And everyone out there right now, if you're young and you're beating yourself up, you trust me, you're gorgeous. You're going to look back as you're gorgeous. But I'm in line like Danny DeVito and you're in a sea of models. And you put on the Shelley Novak drag and it's, the red ropes opening, and it's just back then a guy in a dress was edgy. It was edgy,
And
you
you
know.
were so different from everybody else. You were different from Damien Devine. You were different from Adora. You were different from all of them. You had your own unique look and
Yeah,
your own unique personality also.
yeah, because I was never going to be pretty. I was never going to be
Yep.
talented with lip syncing. So I just was more like Jackie Curtis from the Warhol days of Press, the lost art of cocktail conversation. And all of the drag queens, I used to jokingly call them the super friends of drag, the originals.
Yeah.
Dora, Damien Devine, Mother Kibble, Marvella, Taffy,
Yeah.
Bridget Buttercup. It was like the super friends. When Lancaster came along, she was like Hawkman. She wasn't really part of the super
Yeah.
friends, but she was still part of the Justice League.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And everybody we weren't in competition with one another. I felt like we were more in competition with ourselves. We just wanted to be as good as we could be to top. In my case, I just wanted to top myself every week.
Yep.
And it was just a hustle. If you could get 6 gigs a week or whatever, you could make a good living back then. Those days are over unless you're amazingly talented, and there are queens out there still doing it, like Daisy Dead Petals.
Yep.
And like Adora. But they're still doing it. I retired in 2020 because it was just so many different factors, the pandemic and
Yeah.
everything else. But the South Beach was crazy, and Shelley Novak.
I mean, tell people what it was like. I've tried to explain it to people, but South Beach in the early 90s was so different than what it is today. It's night and day.
Yeah.
It was gritty back then. It was still fabulous. There was beautiful people coming there, but it's not what it is today. Because today it's so touristy, much more, I think.
No one knew about it.
No one knew about it.
This kind of undiscovered gem. And
Yes.
what I've always said is we had 62 modeling agencies in like 17 blocks.
Yeah.
If you build it, it's Field of Dreams. If you build models, if the models are there, they will come. The rock stars will come, the politicians, the actors, because they want to bang the models. It's the circle of banging.
Yeah.
It's the song from The Lion King that probably didn't make it in. But just the models, beautiful people. And it was this crazy zeitgeist. And people like Chris Pachillo came to town, like a new age Bugsy Siegel, like the Warren Beatty mold of Bugsy.
Yep.
And saw what he could create. And he opened Liquid. People like Greg and Nicole Breyer was so forward thinking. They opened Groovejet.
Yep.
There's an Office Depot there now, but Salvation.
I know. When I seen that Office Depot when I went down back to visit, I'm just like, I can't believe this used to be Salvation.
Yeah, and it's fun. It's funny because when I go in there, I feel like the ghosts are like.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I know what you mean.
I just want Post-it notes. Please stop.
Yeah.
But the 90s in South Beach was crazy because it was not really known. It was like a little secret between the stars and the models. And Versace was living there. He built a house. At the Muffin Man, I'd be waiting on Versace in the morning. I didn't even know who he was. I thought he was just a little old man with black socks and sandals. I didn't know who Versace was. But it just was crazy. Working at Liquid,
How was it, though? Being a drag queen on South Beach in the 90s, you must have had access to so much, though, because you were so well known and you were a celebrity.
Crazy in the respect that just a short little fat guy in a dress or whatever I don't know. I just got so lucky in that respect. And I find myself in rooms with Ricky Martin, Mick Jagger, Madonna. I've had many run-ins with Madonna. I could tell stories.
Tell me one story about Madonna. I think the audience would love to hear one story.
All right, okay. My Madonna stories is such. The opening night of Liquid, I was friends with, and I told you the names are going to be dropped. I was good friends with Naida, Stefan, Gloria's kids. So I knew Gloria and Emilio because I let them know, the cat wants a cameo.
Yeah. The cat's always here whenever I do a podcast for some reason.
Because I was like, Gloria, rest assured, your son is not gay, and you're in the what do you call it? I just was like the friends of the family because of the kids. I knew them, and so Desi, me, Ellen Pompeo with the P door at Liquid, and Gloria waves us in, and I'm like, oh my god! So we're in there, and we get down into this banquette, which is about like a foot in between the next banquette of like plywood, and Madonna comes in, and I'm in the Budweiser stretch dress with the blonde wig.
Yes, I know that famous dress.
And I've never wanted to be Madonna or Marilyn Monroe. If anything, I've always wanted to be like Diana Dors, who was like this drunk, blousy British version of Marilyn Monroe.
Yeah.
Anyways, Madonna sits down in the banquette and back of me, and there's only about a foot apart between my shoulder blades and her shoulder blades. So I'm sitting there and I'm thinking to myself, I'm just going to exude my celebrity energy. LaCroix, sweetie, or LaCroix, however. I'm sitting there, I'm going to exude my celebrity energy. So I'm shaking and I'm moving and I'm like, I'm like squeezing back, trying to exude. And it looks basically like I'm either like holding a seance or having a seizure.
Yeah.
So she gets up and she's walking away, and I'm going, all my friends like this. Like, oh my gosh, she's noticing you. And she goes like this. She scrapes her fingers under her chin. She bafangoos me. And all my friends like, oh my God, Madonna bafangooed you. I'm like, yes. And I'm like, I thought we were going to be best friends. That wasn't exactly the, but then I guess she's probably, who's this fucking kid dressed like me in a bud dress,
Yeah.
having a seat.
Yeah.
So another time, this was the beauty of Chris Pachillo, smoking hot, gorgeous, mafia adjacent club owner. I'm very team Chris Pachillo. There was a club downstairs underneath liquor a restaurant called Cafe Torino. We would do Italian dinner and we'd do a drag show. And at one point they complained about the noise. So Chris was like, of the club, upstairs. So Chris just bought the Italian restaurant. So no one could complain about the noise. And there's a large staircase that you would have upstairs. You'd have a curtain. You'd be behind the curtain with the DJ. And then you'd descend the staircase as everyone was at tables all around in the beginning of dinner and drag. And you'd lip sync and people would laugh and whatnot. So I looked down into the audience that one night and I see Ingrid Caceres and Chris Pachillo and everybody, and the Madonna's at the table with them. So I'm like, I go up to the DJ and go, I'm changing my song. So I put a pillow up under my dress to make myself look pregnant. And I went and got I got a condom and filled it with a little water and some ketchup packages, tied it up, put it in my crotch, put a pin in my wig, a little safety pin. And then I got on the, I said, I'm gonna do Papa Don't Preach. So I'm on the stairs. Everyone's going nuts. Madonna, not so much. I'm thinking this is it. She's got a great sense of humor. This will make us best friends. Anyways, Madonna's sense of humor, it didn't work out. So I get up to the table, I'm oohing, I'm ahhing, I'm gonna keep my baby. And then I reach in secretly, grab the pin, and right table side with Madonna and Chris and Ingrid, I pop the condom and the bloody water falls and it looks like my water broke. The crowd goes nuts. Madonna, not so much. I'm like, fuck, the second time I blew up my Madonna. So to wrap the story up, one night we're in Liquid's VIP and it's Fat Black Pussycat night and I'm in the bud dress. And it's like maybe a year later and I'm passing around chicken wings and all her friends, she was there with friends and they were like, you've got to meet Shelley Novak. You got to meet Shelley Novak. I come over with the chicken wings, all congealed and cold. And she's like, I don't eat saturated fat. And the friends were like, you got to meet Shelley. She said, everyone, please, I know exactly who Shelley Novak is. And I was like, yeah, she knows me. Even though like aggravated, I'm her nemesis. But I was like, I just wanted to be best friends. I guess it never happened. But she knew
who you were, though. That's huge. Yeah. The biggest star in the world knew who you were. So that's amazing.
I thought at 15, cutting my shirts, flash dance shirts, and the fingers off my gloves and dressing as much as Madonna as a 15-year-old gay boy could, that we'd be best friends one day. There's still time.
There's still time. Yeah.
So
she may appreciate you more now than she did back then.
Yeah, I definitely think so. Especially I'm retired. I'm not going to dress anything anywhere near like her. Break my
who was your favorite person to perform with back in the day, or just to be a part of? I know you weren't doing lip syncing and stuff, but who was your favorite person that you would go and work with?
Adora paved the way for so many performers. Adora was the host of so many shows and still to this day, kind-hearted, good, generous person. So working with Danilo, very talented, and had to have him book you were psyched. Back in the day, Damien Devine, who's now Alana Starr, very successful in France, in Paris. Daisy Dead Petals, amazing. I remember back in the day, I used to have business cards made up, and I was the one they would call if they would. Back then, it was hip because of Priscilla, Queen of the Desert, and Tu Wong Fu, and the Birdcage. Thank God for the Birdcage because I resembled Nathan Lane. I'll tell you a story about that after. I gave my business card one day out, and I got the call. They needed some drag queens at a birthday party because it was cool to do such. You'd have an ice sculpture, and then a drag queen. So I would always get like the best. I'd get Damien Devine and Daisy Dead Petals. So we came to this mansion in the middle of wherever. Mansion, there's only one word for it. And they were so rich. They had in the front on a revolving platform was a NASCAR. It turned out it was Emerson Fittipaldi, the Brazilian race car driver's son's 21st birthday. Okay.
Wow.
So we get in. Okay, it's mansion crazy. And I don't know, I leave some parts of the story out. So I'm looking for a bathroom that I can use that has a lock on it, but I couldn't find one.
Okay, yes.
And because you want to calm your nerves by... Anyways.
Yeah.
So I say to myself, okay, I don't really know the words to my song, Shout by Lulu. This is how long ago AbFab was in. And so I said, I'm going to go into the kitchen and hide out and listen to my Sony Walkman and listen to the lyrics. I get into the kitchen and there's this big giant cake with vanilla frosting. And over in the corners, George Harrison of the Beatles. So
Wow.
I look at him and I'm like, you hiding out too? And he's like, so when I do George Harrison's voice, it's basically the Beatles cartoon from the early 1970s.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, I'm hiding out also. I'm also hiding out. I was thinking to myself, what do I talk about? Do I talk about his charity? I don't know if it was Bangladesh or Tibet. I don't want to talk
Yeah.
about My Sweet Lord because he was sued by the Shirelles for He's So Fine. What do I do? I'll talk about the Beatles. What do I do? So I look at him, the cake. I say, I love cake. He's like, cake is fab. I was like, I love cake. But you know what? With the white frosting, it could be like chocolate under there. It could be like wedding cake. I love wedding cake. I know I used to love wedding cake. My mother used to bring me with those little almonds. I couldn't think of sometimes they were inside of a stalk, and the little cake is fab. So we were in the talk for 20 minutes with George Harrison, just about cake, like childhood memories of as a fat kid. My mom would always bring me back cake from weddings. Oh, that's wonderful. Your mother would bring you cake. And then the hostess came in. She was like, what were you doing in there? What were you talking about? And I was like, cake. And so I said, I can't do that song, Shout by Lulu, with a beetle in the drum. So I did I've Never Been to Me from Priscilla, Queen of the Desert.
Okay.
Knocked Him Dead. And this is me back in the day. I used to have a big Mary Poppins carpet bag. And back then people were drinking. They were a little coked up. They weren't really eating as much as they would at a party.
Yeah.
So I would fill my Mary Poppins carpet bag with like sandwiches and stuff. So Daisy and Damien, we knocked him dead. We got to the car. We drove off. I said, who wants a sandwich? And we're just eating sandwiches on our way back home. And I was like, guys, can you believe there was one of the Beatles was there? And they were like, they're so cute. They were like, we thought the Beatles were all dead. And I was like, no, there's still a couple left. And George Harrison. And they're like, who's that? And I'm like, I'm singing all his songs. And I was, it's just priceless to have moments like that. It just,
were you at?
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
There was a fundraiser for Damien Devine whenever she was leaving, and Robin Williams came to that show. Were you at that show that night?
I was not. My birdcage story is this. We were at my class, sweetie. We were at WPA on Washington.
Okay.
They were having a drag show. And this is how long ago, I was wearing a white slip and I had a black wig and I was doing Connie Francis. And then I would take the slip and rather than wig, and I put on a blonde wig and do Courtney Love. This is how long ago.
Yeah.
And I look down into the audience and I see Mike Nichols and Robin Williams. And I come backstage and go, guys, fucking tighten up. Robin Williams is here. Mike Nichols. They're like, who is Mike Nichols? Who is Mike Nichols? I'm like, Mike Nichols, So Good, The Graduate, Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf. And they're like, I'm like, just don't fuck up. So then I go down once again and to talk to them because there's no way I'm not going to meet Mike Nichols. Not so much Robin Williams, but Mike Nichols. And I get down there and I'm like, what am I going to say at the table? What am I going to say? What am I going to say? What am I going to say? They've heard everything. And I got up to the table and everything just blew. I said, Mr. Nichols, if you didn't cry at the end of the Day of the Dolphin, then you're a communist. The table starts laughing. And Robin Williams, so in my bad Robin Williams imitation says, so who are you dressed like? Who are you supposed to be? And I was like, I'm supposed to be Connie Francis, and then I'm going to put on the blonde wig, and I'm going to be Courtney Love. And he's like, let's stay. I can't do Robin Williams. He's like, go stay. Let's stay and watch that. Yeah. And we talked, we chatted, we laughed, and then they got me like an extra part. Like I got to play a waiter in the birdcage. Never left the room at the Delano while that scene where he pierces the toast. I never got I never left the room. I never got on camera. But I did steal all the towels and soap. And me with the bag, I took all the food as usual. But it was just bizarre. Once again, a little short, fat kid from the Boston, from the Everett Projects, could put on a wig. No, go ahead, I'm sorry.
I want to talk just about a couple of the people that I remember. Marvella and Taffy Lynn. Taffy Lynn is, I was friends with Taffy on Facebook at one point, and I haven't heard anything. From Taffy. I know Marvella became a artist and was selling drawings and painting.
And before that,
so talented.
Yeah, and before that was doing the makeup, was going on tour with the Spice Girls, was doing their makeup.
Okay.
Marvella had the most wonderful comeback and is doing so well. I'm so happy because there's so many people from our past that are doing well. The rest, we've lost a lot of people. A lot of people have passed away.
I know Cecilia's gone, and which is I think is sad. And Wanda, I remember, and Mother Kibble just like a year and a half or 2 years ago died of a heart attack.
China Girl just recently.
China Girl, yes.
Fantasy. A lot of people. It's just we're at that age. I keep telling my friends, don't.
I know. Minor Girl was the sweetest person ever, and
Oh my
when that
God.
happened, it just really impacted me. Like, I was so sad about it.
Yeah, it was sad. It's always sad when people die young, especially the nice people, especially when there's so many shops out there that are continuing to be evil.
Did you have any kind of like issues with any of that old crew at ever? It sounds like you guys got along pretty well, and everybody seemed to be
we really,
friends and stuff.
yeah, we really did, because nobody was like each other. Like now, the
Yeah,
drag. I don't mean to, maybe because I'm going to sound like I'm going to sound like grumpy old man, but like now it's like a lot of the drag queens all look alike, and
yeah,
can't everybody pop it. Back then, everyone had their own thing. I never said so and so stealing my gig, because no one else.
yeah,
If they wanted a Shelley Novak, they're not going to get an Elaine Lancaster. And if they want an Elaine Lancaster, they're not going to get a Shelley Novak. Do you know what I'm saying?
yeah. What do you think about the whole thing with what DeSantis is doing to Florida? I think it's just crazy how much he's trying to change the laws and stuff. And that never would have happened back when we were in South Beach. And now the whole world is changing down in
Yeah,
Florida.
it's an attack. Honestly, right now, the one thing that's bothering me, he just pulled 32 million in the arts budget. And if you think about it, it's just like he's butthurt that the Disney thing fell through, or that
Yeah,
his
exactly.
thing fell through. And it's like he wants to go like slap the intellectuals across the face, because now he's taking our Chopin. And
Yeah,
when I think about it, I think it's basically because where do intellectuals meet to discuss their issues, their problems, maybe even to congregate, maybe even to get together to
yeah.
museums and art and these public places, these public spaces. This is just, I don't know. I'm not a very
Yeah,
political person. I'm not a very political person, but I feel as if this is just
yeah,
another way of going after the intelligent people out
yeah.
there. Not saying that the average person like myself doesn't enjoy a museum, but I honestly think if you're taking the money out of that funding, it's like you're going after the intelligent. It's like banning books. It's just,
Yeah, exactly.
I honestly think that the country's going backwards, and I don't know what to tell you. I was supposed to be
Tell
dead.
me,
I was supposed to be dead a decade ago. I'm pissed.
yeah, so tell me about that. So I read that you had cancer and you beat it. So tell
I,
me about how that happened, because you got on an experimental drug, right?
I did, and I hate when people say you beat cancer. I feel like the little old lady on the Titanic who says, "Father said that calling a ship unsinkable was like flying in the face of God." Anyways, you can't beat cancer. You just get fucking lucky. And what happened with me?
Yeah,
I went home to Boston to die, and I'm sitting in the ER, and once again, the cast of Grey's Anatomy, that's what they looked like. They came up to
yeah,
me and said, "Listen, your
yeah,
cancer, if it's an experimental drug that we're doing, and we'll give you X amount of insurers, you just have to say yes to a 5-year thing and all these scans." And I'm like, what the fuck do I have to lose? So
yeah,
within 2 infusions of the drug, my cancer was clear, but I still had to do the 5-year regimen. And now that is the protocol, the go-to
yeah.
cancer way to kill the cancer. And for the 40 people in the study, all their lives were saved, including my own. It's been 10 years
Wow,
free. And
wow.
and that's why you just get lucky. If I had not been in the ER that day, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just get lucky. You don't beat cancer. I wish you could. I wish you could beat cancer like you could beat a cold, but you can't. But
And tell me a little bit about you had another kind of bad tragedy that happened back not so long ago with somebody that you really were in a relationship with, who you really loved and cared about. Tell me what happened.
yeah, that was last year. I'll tell you, like I tell everybody, I'm very lucky to have led the life I have led, because I'm just a kid I came from nothing. There's a good opportunity to tell anybody, if I've ever done anything wrong, I'm sorry. If I've ever made you laugh, you're welcome. Life was always just, I didn't mean to go create art. I wasn't trying to. I just wanted to keep the
Yeah.
lights on, just pay my bills. And my friend of 25 years, off and on, he was bisexual. He fathered 3 kids. It wasn't like he was my husband or anything, but
Yeah.
was the love of my life. And last April 22nd, a lot of shit went down. For some reason, I had to move back to Miami Beach. I had 70 grand later. They couldn't figure out why I had lost the ability to walk for 2 months. It was probably a pulled
Oh,
muscle. All this shit went down. Get back to Miami Beach, and he had gone over to his mother's to take a shower. They had turned the water off, and he argued with the landlord, and the landlord waited for the mother and my mother-in-law to take their kids to the park, and they shot him twice and killed him. Yeah, and then literally a month later, my dog Charlie Sheen died. So all this shit happened, and I was like the cliche, like when people, I hate when you're reduced to cliches when they say I'm mad
yeah.
grief. I went mad with grief.
Yeah.
And I pulled all the photographs for his mother for the funeral. And I had this box of photographs of 1990s nightclub people
Yeah.
above my head over the dumpster. Because I was like, why the fuck have I been dragging around these pictures of people I don't even know? 1990s club had it over my head. All of a sudden, the phone rings, unknown caller. And I said, it's probably the funeral home. And they're like, hello, Tommy Withy. We're the Oscar-winning documentarians from Banksy Exit Through the Gift Shop and the Amy Winehouse documentary. And we understand that you worked at, they rattled off 6 clubs from the 90s. And I'm like, yeah.
Yeah.
And me again, once again, I'm like, is this going to be like the Versace thing for People magazine where it's talking heads and I say things like, there was a palpable sense of fear. Then I become the commercial and they're like, no, we are animating photographs. At the box above my head over the dumpster.
Wow. What timing is that? That's crazy.
Dude, I don't believe in fucking ghosts or angels, but I guess I have to because too many things have been fucking happening, you know?
Yeah.
That I can't, you know, I swear to God, I'm like Gillian Anderson in X-Files. I'm like, I just don't, all these things. Netflix, it's strange to say, Netflix and PBS working in conjunction with each other. I became really good friends with the archivist and editor, this girl, Heather. Like, you don't make friends at 57, but we just hit it off. We were such good friends. I saw her again in Boston, blah. So they come over the house to film. And I said, listen, I got a computer, an old MacBook from the 90s. I have it open. And let me go get it. I open it up and I'm just like,
yeah.
All of a sudden, without touching it, Robbie Williams, the song Better Man in Spanish, starts playing out of 10,000 songs. And I'm like, I don't believe in ghosts. I don't believe in, but this, I go, this is like crazy. Between me still seeing the dog out of the corner of my eye and stuff.
Yeah.
My friend Raydell was over the house, Spanish kid, so cute. Tommy, I feel a pressure. And I'm like, oh no, not another one dying. He goes, no, I feel a pressure. I go, you mean a presence? He goes, yes, a presence. Your house is haunted. And I'm like, yeah, I know, Raydell. I know.
Yeah.
I know. You know? The Netflix people, they were like, listen, help us with the research. And I got them in touch with everybody they needed to get in touch with. And they were like, how are you so laser focused? And I'm like, listen, if you guys didn't give me this project as a control freak who realizes now at 57 years old that in life you have no control over anything. It's like getting on a raft. Even cancer was the hardest thing when I had cancer because I had to give up control.
Yeah.
You literally have to swallow your ego and just stepping on a log raft that you made and going down a river, like the river of no return. You just float with it. And what I learned is, I said, this work is giving me a focus. It's taking me out of my grief. And 1 year later, they're in the editing phase of it. It's going to be on Netflix. It's going to be 3 parts. It's going to be about South Beach in the 90s, mostly about the Chris Pacheco story.
Yeah.
But I think they realized once they started talking to people, there was so much more to it.
Yeah.
Here I am to say that how crazy is it that Netflix, that I can sit here and say Netflix saved my life. Because I didn't know, I don't know what I would have done.
When will it come out? Are we a year away from it coming out, probably?
I don't think we're a year away. They're in the editing phase now, so it should be soon. I saw her just on Father's Day up in Boston. We went to the Isabella Stewart Garden Museum and had pizza. Yeah. My friends from back that we kept talking about, that Desi, the person who brought me to South Beach in the 90s, the person who brought Ellen Pompeo, There'd Be No Grey's Anatomy, the person who taught Mike Ruiz how to work a camera, this wonderful person. And they hit it off, and she's going to showcase some of his art in a gallery for Art Basel.
Wow.
So everything works out. Everything. It's just, I could say, oh, Shelley Novak got in the way of some things. Like a lot of people look at you, like a lot of the gays, like aren't attracted to a drag. You know what? The opportunities that Shelley Novak has afforded me have been so good, have been so much. It outweighs all the stupidity.
How did you come up with Shelley Novak, the name?
My friends were calling me Shelley Winters, and I kept saying, and I was being pushed on stage at the Miss Boston Drag Contest in 92, the week before I moved to Miami Beach. And the kid backstage says, you can't be Shelley Winters. That's an actress's name. So I started thinking surnames like Hepburn, Taylor, Elizabeth Taylor, Captain Hepburn, Audrey Hepburn, Kim Novak, Shelley Winters, Kim Novak, Shelley Novak. Pushes me on the stage, ladies and gentlemen, Shelley Novak. And that was it. So
that's awesome.
And
I just want to ask you if you know how much joy you brought to people, though, throughout your career, because I've seen you a million times perform the Shelley Novak Awards. You always had a unique style. Every time I would see you out at a bar or a club, You were never that bitchy drag queen or that bitchy queen from South Beach. You would always say hello. You would always just, you were always friendly, and
Yeah,
you were so entertaining. You were so talented,
thank you.
and you entertained so many thousands and thousands, tens of thousands of people over your career, hundreds of thousands of people over your career. And I just wanted to make sure that you understand how much of an impact you had on so many people.
Thank you so much. That means a lot to me because, like I said, I was just trying to keep the lights on. It didn't wasn't thinking I was going to create up, but with my friends around me, close to me, Desi, Ellen, Chanel, John, whenever something would happen, like whether it was like pirate radio or the Whammy TV show, and even the Shelley Awards, I do that to celebrate these young kids. These kids work,
Yeah,
they're working for drink tickets. You know what I mean? They're working for peanuts. They're working for tips. I want to give everybody an opportunity to either be
yeah.
nominated or
Hmm.
to present an award. And we just did the 30th year last March. I came out of retirement to do that. And it was fun. There was so much controversy because who knew that the new generation of queens, RuPaul, has
Yeah.
made these kids are all competitive now.
Oh yeah,
You know,
yeah.
it's not like the Super Friends of Drag where all we wanted to do was get booked by a
I
door.
love that you had the Super Friends of Drag, and just I had this calendar, or I remember having all this like flyers and calendars and
That
all this
giant
fans
calendar
and
from
stuff.
Germany, right?
Yes, and I had all this stuff, and it's in a box somewhere. I wish I could find it. It's somewhere in storage probably. But Jody McDonald did so much for the
He's still doing
community
it.
and stuff.
He's
And he just, yeah, he's still doing. I follow him on Facebook or Instagram, and I'm so thankful for like people like you and Jody that just made the experience of growing up as a gay kid just amazing, because you guys were like the superstars to us. We'd see you on stage, or we'd see you out, and when you would talk to us, I don't think you realized, oh my God, Shelley just said hello to us. We were just so happy that you would talk to us and stuff. And it was so amazing just to see you out there performing and see. And now I look to just think about looking back at it, just how much joy you gave to people. And I'm so happy that you agreed to do this interview, because of just, I wanted you to know that.
Thank you so much. And I'll tell you, I think that what it is back then too, especially at that time, I had never met so many people that had been with AIDS and that
Yeah.
don't ask, don't tell. And there was so many people who were abandoned by their family, and people came down
Yeah.
to Miami Beach, and there were so many lost souls that you couldn't help it. If you were a good person, you couldn't help but want to embrace
Yeah.
people. Plus also, all I've ever wanted was to be loved. And the Beatles, they're wrong. The love you take is never equal to the love you make, and vice versa. You just gotta love. It's like jumping off a cliff. Falling in love is like jumping off a cliff. You just sometimes
Yeah.
fucking yell Geronimo and just do it.
Yeah.
And life makes no sense. It's not supposed to. You have no control over it. It's like a
So
quote.
you've retired from drag. So what's next? You're doing, so you're
I wrote,
doing different jobs.
I
Okay,
wrote, I,
go tell me about this.
I wrote a book. I wrote my memoir finally.
You
It had been something in the making forever, and I put it together, and it's in the hands of a bunch of people. I'll Shave Tomorrow, the Shelley Novak story. And of
love it.
course, of course, all my friends are like, oh, this could be 3 different films. This could be a 12-part Amazon. And I'm like, guys, that's great. And you can do whatever you want. But all I want is a hardcover book I can put on a shelf because I'm old school. Then you can fucking do whatever you want with it.
Yeah,
But yeah, I retired. I wrote the book. I'll do the Shelley Awards every year.
that's good. That's great. I love it that you do that still.
But it's a young person's game. I'm pushing 60 now, and it's hard enough being super, super good looking in my age. But it's a young man's game, and I'm just happy.
Yeah.
I'm happy to have done what I did, and
You've had an incredible life if you think about all the people that you've met, all the performance that you've done, how
yeah.
you moved from Boston to South Beach. You overcame cancer. I won't say beat, but you overcame cancer, and you're 10 years past that now. And
I
you
like
just,
the fact that drug is helping people. That's the main thing.
yeah.
All the other
And
all the drugs I've done, maybe at least one of them is helping somebody.
yeah, exactly. But yeah, I think you've had an amazing life, and I'm so glad I got to interview you. And whenever, I found you on Instagram, I'm just like, oh, please let Tommy or Shelley say yes. And I'm so
Oh my
happy that you
God,
did.
no!
So
I literally was begging to do it because I saw you. It's nice to see you again. I don't think I've seen you since you were a little kid.
yeah,
And I'm like a nostalgia act. I'm like Joan Jett at a fairground, and I'm happy
yeah,
that I'm okay with that. And if I can give people advice and still make people laugh, and when the book comes out, and when the Netflix special comes out, these things will hopefully make people. Hopefully, I'll be scrolling across your Netflix screen sometime soon.
I hope so. Yeah, and I would, yes, please. And whenever it comes out, please send me a message. Come back on and talk about it. Let's promote the hell out of that, out of
Okay.
the Netflix
Okay.
and your book when it's ready.
All
We
right.
will we will promote it like you've never seen before on my show and on social media and whatever.
Okay,
It's
cool.
going to be an amazing story.
I thank you so much for this opportunity. Before I go, I just want to give just a quick little piece of advice to everybody. That is,
Sure.
always wash your face no matter how drunk you are before bed. Take your face off.
Oh,
Take it off. Secondly, always hang up your costumes. And thirdly,
yeah.
no matter where you travel in the world, don't be intimidated. You can't go wrong with the club sandwich.
Good advice. So thank you. It's been such a pleasure having you on. You're amazing still. And I've known you at least over 30 years, and I'm so
Yep.
glad again I got to interview you. So thank you so much, and it was awesome having you on.
Thank you so much. And you still look like a twink.
Thank you so much.